I would like, first of all, to thank the organisers of this meeting for giving us one of the best evenings of political education that I've attended for a long time. The ingredients of what we've learned is, first of all, we've learned something of the Greek case and have had an opportunity of expressing our solidarity with them. And I hope reports of this meeting go back to Athens and elsewhere so they know that they are not alone and they have friends here. And that is absolutely essential. But also, we've learned about the relationship between what's happened to them and what is happening to the cabin crew of British Airways, what's happening to people at universities and elsewhere. And all of a sudden, we're coming up against the truth that globalization means the transfer of power from the people we vote for to the people who own the banks and have the appointed jobs and are not elected. And that is the lesson we have to learn at this period of history. It is a very, very important lesson to learn, because otherwise, bit by bit, we will find that what we have built up through democracy has been eroded. I try to understand, as I'm sure everybody does, what's going on, and I offer my conclusion. I think that just as for years the great political battle was to extend the vote so that the working people could vote, when the vote came, people could use the vote to buy with their vote what they couldn't afford with their purse. They bought the National Health Service by voting for it. They bought local government by voting for it. And now the attacks on the public services that we hear every day are attacks on those things that were purchased by the vote, i.e. it is another attack upon democracy itself. And I think if we understand that, then we shall be much, much clearer about what it is we're defending. We're not just defending the schools and the hospitals and all that, we are also defending the right of people to go to a polling station and without having a very fat wallet, with a pencil on a bit of paper, they can vote for a party that will provide that their needs may be met. And that, I think, is another lesson we have to not just learn from meetings like this, but preach to other people, because I think it makes a great deal of sense. Also, to recognise that we are engaged in a struggle which will illuminate the struggles of other people. You don't always win the battles you're in, but my God, if you look back over history, the number of people who fought battles and lost them, who have also in the process taught us how to fight battles, is also very important indeed. And my mind goes back, listening to the speakers tonight, to the Thatcher period, because I think at that time we didn't actually defeat Thatcher, but my God, we did learn a lot about what their plans were, how they operated them, what we were up against, and in the end we have to deal with them, because Mrs. Thatcher understood the Labour movement better than the Labour movement itself. She understood that all that we had achieved, and we have achieved a great deal over the years, was by three things. First of all, by legalising trade unions so they could operate democratically to bring about their needs to be met. So she decided to attack the trade unions, the miners, the first attack, but it was more than that, to make trade unionism virtually illegal. Secondly, she attacked local government, because local government had played a very important part, house building, council house building, education and so on, and she wanted to destroy the role of local government as an instrument for progress. And so what she did was to attack the Lambeth and Liverpool councillors and gradually cramp the work of local government so they couldn't perform the function they had. And thirdly, of course, privatisation. She took assets and privatised them and used the money that she got from privatisation to fund her struggle with the miners and whoever it happened to be. And now privatisation is to be extended to include the post office, you probably saw. So you mustn't think that what we're seeing now is different from Thatcherism. It is Thatcherism coming into play at a different historical period, but with the same objectives, to eliminate the Labour movement and all that it stands for and all that we've heard tonight at the meeting. So the question is, what do we do about it? And that is the question. I am an optimist, but when I say that, I don't mean that if it'll all come all right in the end. I don't believe that at all. I believe that if you do organise, you will win. You look at the great victories we had, recognising trade unions, votes for working class men, votes for women. All these things have been brought about by struggle. And therefore, we have to engage in a long, broad campaign, not just nationally, but internationally. And I say this because I was a Member of Parliament for Chesterfield, a mining constituency, elected the day the miners' strike began in 1984. And during that strike, we had mass support from all over the world, from the French unions who gave £5 million for presents for the families of the miners who didn't have much at Christmas. We had American unions come over. And I heard one story from one of the American trade unions, which I tell you, if you've heard me mention it before, it's because I think it's so important. It was a very simple story told by a group of trade union workers from America who'd come to support the British miners. And this is the story they told. They said there was a mining village and the pits were closed and a little boy fell down a mine shaft. And all the old men of the village gathered at the top of the mine, what shall we do? And they said, we'll drop a rope. So they dropped a rope, but it wasn't long enough. So they found a longer rope and they dropped that down, but it wasn't long enough. And they found another longer rope and they threw it down, but it wasn't long enough. And from the bottom of the mine shaft came a little boy, and the little boy's voice said, tie your ropes together. And I thought that was a really wonderful example of what solidarity is about. We have to tie our ropes with the Greek workers, with the cabin staff, with the academics who are facing cuts, with everybody who's facing cuts, and explain to people what is happening. Explain that it doesn't have to be as it is, and have confidence that if we do that, we shall succeed, as I'm absolutely certain we will. Thank you for coming.